We protect it with matte protective coating, because I really love the natural look, and as you know, the matte protective coating is practically invisible and transparent, even though it protects a lot. And it leaves the texture almost as if it were waxed, so it looks natural. Secondly, because the matte coating doesn't highlight any flaws of any kind. What is it? A flaw is a poor application, or wood that perhaps is inconsistent. For example, when there are very old finishes with uneven woods. Like in this case, it makes no sense to apply a glossy or satin protective coating, as it would highlight even more, and unnaturally, the situation underneath the protective layer. So in my opinion, it looks really lovely. When you have a style like this, it's best to protect it in a natural and transparent way. The can is new. I still need to dilute it. You know I always tell you to dilute it quite a lot. Let's say a good 10 to 20%, depending on the season, but above all, learn to recognize what the right consistency is for the protective coating. I've added roughly 20 to 30% water, more or less 30%. You can see it's a bit more fluid now. I want this consistency, especially because I'm going to apply the protective coating over the whole surface, which will obviously absorb a lot. So I need the protective coating to be very fluid and smooth so that it spreads well over the entire surface. So mix it very thoroughly so that it's completely diluted, completely blended. I always use my tray. I pour in a bit, and if I have any left over, I put it back in the can, and I start with the roller. Do you know how to prepare a roller? Masking tape and rip it off. I've already done it, but always do it, even when the roller is new. This way, any loose fibers come off. I load up my long pile roller well, because it's the best for applying the protective coating. It releases a bit more product, and with just one stroke, we're good. Emma follows me with a damp microfiber cloth, very, very well wrung out. This way, she checks that it doesn't drip down the edges of the table. I start from here and go over there, and then back this way. As you can see, once we apply the protective coating, the color changes, and that's the realistic final color of the furniture, of the table. Because as you might expect, once it gets slightly damp and moist, it becomes much more strikingly vibrant and hydrated. This will be the final look of our tabletop. Beautiful, natural, velvety, smooth, but above all, protected. Don't insist on the areas where the protective coating is already drying. All right, please remember, the rules are always that you don't press down on the roller, but most importantly, you don't go over the areas you've already covered. Because here it's self-leveling, it's setting, and you mustn't go over it again. A night has passed. Is our tabletop dry? It's stunning. We've applied one coat of protective coating because there's no need for two. I mean, this is a tabletop that will be used when it's open, and of course, it'll be used even more when it's closed. Then, as you well know, for me certain types of tables have that lovely character also when protected with wax, which is why the top part will be protected with wax. Now Emma and I are going to try closing it on our own, because we've never done it before, and to detach the top part. Because we're starting to work on the base. Let's see if we can do it. Yes. Well done, well done, well done, well done, well done. Now we need to come over here and detach it from there, right? Yes. That's right. A bit more towards me. All right. Oh, well done, Emma. Perfect. Shall we go over there? Yes. Let's go over there. Perfect. We will work on the top later, at the end, because I want to protect it with wax and Restauratore. And you might say to me, but why? If it's a table that's going in the kitchen and will get a lot of wear, do you protect it with wax? How did you protect your kitchen table? With wax. How is it? Very well. I mean, you have a baby. He'll throw things on it every now and then, a bit of baby food. Yes. I'm not particularly careful with it. There you go. Do you know what the solution is? Get it into your head that anything with paint, over the years, maybe after 4, 5, 6 years, you strip it and redo it. Because even though magic paint lasts a very long time, as we can see from the feedback on kitchens, on our group, on doors, they are perfect after 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Of course, but a table where you eat every day, you have to accept that after a while it might show some marks. 3, 4, 5 years. The outline of a red wine stain. Or oil, which after you've knocked and banged it a few times, you end up breaking. The initial finish. So it might start to crack, and could then also absorb some substances commonly found in the kitchen. I, on the other hand, take a completely different approach. Wax and Restauratore, or wax and oil applied every now and then, Then I go over it again, once every 5 or 6 months. I sit down, nice and calm, take my jasmine wax, my Restauratore, go over it again, and my furniture looks as good as new. Because the hydration you can give to a table like this never really ends. You can wash it, of course, if it's dirty, a soft microfiber cloth, water and soap, you wash it, of course you do, and then you rinse it. Obviously, if you remove too much of the wax protection, you can just reapply it after a while and nothing will happen. So Jacopo says thank you, as do Rosa, Leo and Mikey, who are my children, and of course, they're not particularly careful either, so they thank us as well. And so, if your tables are like this one, protect them with wax, because they stay in great condition. Now, this table is really lovely. Just look how big it is underneath, here. We can even hide things in there, to be honest. There's the drawer, lovely, like a bedside table, and then there's the table itself. We'll take this table, give it a good clean and use our bar, as we haven't done that yet. As we needed to sand the top, why use our bar before? We'll wash it thoroughly and then paint it with Castellamonte. This much water in a bucket, is that 2 liters?
Yes.
2 liters. A glass of baking soda, perfect. But let's not stay there too long to fiddle around. Per liter, use 3 to 4 tablespoons of baking soda more or less. And for this quantity of water we put more or less a glass of ammonia. Nothing will happen if you put a bit more or a bit less ammonia and baking soda. Our bar needs to be done properly and several times. So we degrease it thoroughly. If the water becomes very cloudy, throw it away and start again. Add the ammonia and baking soda again and carry on. And then rinse it. A slightly coarse sponge. Everyone be careful, just so we can really clean it well and remove all the grease. And you do this preliminary step over the entire surface. All right. The whole surface that needs to be painted. So, Elisa, before painting on with magic paint, do I need to sand the surface? No, but if the surface is very shiny, very smooth, do I need to sand it? Are you sure? No, you don't need to sand, you just need to clean it thoroughly with our bar. I know why sometimes you're a bit skeptical, because you see that this solution of water and baking soda doesn't foam up, but I assure you it's fantastic. It doesn't foam, you don't need the foam, but it really, really degreases. Please make sure you follow these guidelines, and only follow them if you're using magic paint, because if you do this with other products, it'll just peel off. Every brand has its own guidelines, it's important to follow them. Now Emma and I are going to give it a really thorough clean. The water won't actually be that dirty, because in reality it's a table that's been very well looked after. So we're just removing the greasiness, which could simply be from the hand cream we use every day, nothing else. But once it's nice and clean, it'll be ready to be painted. We finished washing, now I'll rinse it. With a soft, damp microfiber cloth, I rinse it and go over it again, rinse and go over it several times until it's absolutely spotless. We're using Castellamonte because it's one of the colors that works best for the design of this room, this dining room/kitchen. To apply the paint evenly, we use Elizabeth. Whatever type of brush we are using, whether for applying paint or protective coating, you should always hold them by the ferrule. But the ferrule isn't here, the ferrule is the metal part, here. Mind you, it completely changes the balance of the brush. By the end of the day, if you don't hold it by the ferrule, you'll end up working differently, wasting more paint, but above all, your hand will ache. So today, we'll make her happy. Emma, I like this brush, but my favorite is another one, the one that leaves a lot of grain. You need to load the brush reservoir well, whichever brush it is, because all brushes have a nice central reservoir that we don't make use of, and you load it by making circular movements. I gently stroke it. I keep the product in the central reservoir and start painting. You'll definitely need 2 coats to get full coverage, also because there aren't any other techniques to add. Look at the tone of the Castellamonte ceramic fired in the kiln. It's exactly Castellamonte color. Obviously, as always, to get good coverage. I recommend you also use a crisscross brush stroke, which means going one way. So first vertically, then stretching it out horizontally following the grain of the wood. Voila, magic. We paint with a nice even coat over the whole surface. When it's nice and dry, the second coat. Let's go. Second coat of Castellamonte over the whole surface. Obviously, the second is the last one. Against Emma's wishes, completely against. I'm saying this because she's here watching me and saying, I don't agree, but let's do as you wish. All right, this time I've put my foot down because I usually listen to her. I want leaves on the longer sides of the table as well, and why is that? Because it's such a big table for someone who works a lot and is often traveling back and forth. How many times a year will you ever see it open? When you have lovely dinners with friends, yes, perhaps, but then you might also fancy putting a tablecloth on it every now and then. Maybe you see it open at Christmas, Easter, then we also want to enjoy this imprinting of the leaves. So I decided to put a bouquet of leaves rising from here or there. Emma will decide this. Because she's better than me, and this way we can remind the lady of the house that she has this beautiful decoration inside. Go, Emma. Voila. Let's see how it came on the pure color finish. Voila, beautiful. We continue on this side of the longer table and also on the other side. Let's just place them on the two longest ones. We protect the underside of the legs with a matte protective coating, exactly as we did on the inside. This will certainly help us, also because when you wash the floor with cloths or anything else that might knock against it. Like the vacuum cleaner, it will help the protection last longer over time and we'll avoid splinters. Emma is using a brush to get well into the grooves and the legs. And since I already have the roller here for the tabletop that I used yesterday, I'll carry on protecting the whole table with the matte protective coating and roller. As mentioned earlier, we're protecting the top with wax because we know how to maintain it over the years. And so do you. So please, when you have lovely tables like this one, look after them like this. Will you help me? Crisscross brushstroke, first against the grain and then following it. And then we use fine steel wool so that the wax really gets into the wood fibers and helps us to polish. It's important. Always remember to use a brush that you only use for wax, the Restauratore, and for oil. Don't use brushes for these steps that you then use for paint, because no matter how well you wash them, they are never 100% clean. Honestly, just look at this wood. Beautiful, clean, hydrated, an absolute marvel. Here I'm going against the grain, so the wood really soaks up the wax. Then I smooth it, following the grain. Brilliant. And what a scent. I massage it in with steel wool. Mind you, if your table needs more hydration, if it's in worse shape than mine, then just one coat will do. That's enough. After the steel wool, apply wax again, and then use the steel wool once more. In this way, we're reinforcing the base even more, and it will be even more hydrated and beautiful with a lovely finish. It's important that the steel wool is used following, obviously, the grain of the wood, like this. Apply the Restauratore a few hours later. We're short on time, so it's only been half an hour and we're already applying it. It's better to apply it to the areas you've worked on the next day. We put the Restauratore directly onto the brush and start spreading it as if it were wax, using crisscross brush strokes. To begin with, carefully brush against the grain and then smooth the surface back down following the grain of the wood. Smooth it out thoroughly, making sure the Restauratore really penetrates well into the surface. I assure you that before and after applying it, the wood will change completely. It will become like velvet. This table will truly be a sight to behold. So yes, actually, the Restauratore really is an exceptional product. Now I'll show you why I do one section first, then a second, and then a third, because it needs to be massaged in straight away. This is the big difference between the Restauratore and other waxy products. From Magic Paint, the Restauratore doesn't need to wait to solidify, but it practically needs to be massaged in straight away. Let's finish this part, smoothing it well, rubbing and working it in thoroughly, really well. Be pre. Including the edge, and now we massage it in. Cloth, rag, smooth, cotton, wool, whatever you like, as long as it doesn't have any fluff, and you go in like this, really, really deeply, pressing down. I give it a polish and I assure you that as soon as it dries, it sets and it changes completely. The texture of the wood will become like velvet, protected for a very long time, sealed, not greasy, velvety, it's a real treat. Right then, Emma, now touch this board for me and then touch that one. Actually, touch that one first and then this one. Go on.
It's a completely different surface.
It's all a real treat now. So I really recommend you try this test yourselves. Give it a go too. The Restauratore, in this way, or even simply applied directly to furniture you already have at home, perhaps some prestigious or antique pieces, French polished or lacquered, you'll see that the Restauratore gives them new life. The surface becomes velvety, small scratches disappear, and marks vanish. An exceptional product, give it a try. QUELLA GIUSTA.
La Casa Cercavi.
This table has been set up here, by us, in our space, specifically arranged for filming and finishing, because we wanted to show you what it would look like in a lived-in home. Because often, when you see our furniture in the workshop, you see it in a neutral setting. What could be better than imagining it? How might it actually look in a home? I really like it, and we've even set it for you with my vintage pieces, because I love laying the table with mismatched, slightly antique items I've found at markets. I find it extremely beautiful and, culturally, a bit of an inspiration too, don't you think? Do remember, all the steps you've seen can be found here on my channel. On YouTube, Elisa and Magic Paint, but also on various social media with reels, photos and more. But where is it that you can't find Magic Paint?
On Amazon.
Never. But this tutorial is an inspiration from the project for a beautiful house that we'll see in the TV series.
QUELLA GIUSTA.
La Casa.
Cercavi.
Airing on.
May 30.
When roughly?
On Sundays in the morning, late morning.
Exactly, but then you can also watch it on catch-up.
As a repeat, more or less in the late evening, during the week following the original broadcast and online.
Exactly, when, where, why?
On lasociety.it, whenever they want, however they want, for free. You just need to go to the website and type in QUELLA GIUSTA.
Without even registering, it's incredible. Obviously, after it has aired on TV, it will also be available on their website. And it will always be accessible. Of course, the tutorial is available on our social media channels, and you can really watch it at any time. Tell me if you liked it. I hope so. And this time, I hope that this technique is something you'll try again, because it's easy, inexpensive, and really gives an amazing touch. I like it more and more. And spring is coming. I really feel it's mine. We'll say goodbye now, and see you at the next makeover. Goodbye.